I'm here in the studios of Danny Elfman to talk about his new composition, a violin concerto called 1111 that will be performed at the Soraya on April 4, 2019 with violinist Sandy Campbell.
I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I always thought that my first concerto, were I ever to write one, would be for a piano, because it's the only instrument that I can actually make sounds on. I started studying violin concertos because that's how I worked. So I started with about 25 violin concertos and narrowed it down to a dozen, and then down to about half a dozen, and then found myself relentlessly, as I almost could have predicted beforehand, and obsessively listening to Shostakovich's first violin concerto. And to the point where I got to say, if I don't stop listening to this, I'm not going to write a note, because it's just too amazing. And I've been through this before. My first orchestral work, I was listening relentlessly to Prokofiev, and it's like, I have to stop, because I will never be Prokofiev and I'll never be Shostakovich, and I just have to be okay with that. But you can see that the form, the four-movement form, was already indelibly in my mind. I knew it would be four movements. There's one movement in particular that it revolves around a cadenza written for four percussion and violin. And I had this in my head, and I said, I've never heard this before. I have to do it. Four percussion and a wild cadenza. And Sandy, the violinist, she asked for hard. I said, you want hard? All right. I wrote her 3 cadenzas. And the second movement cadenza is going to be murder. And she's like, bring it.
And why 1111? That's the title of the piece.
I was finishing up the last part of the last cadenza with Sandy, and we were just kind of joking, like, wonder how big this thing is, because it got longer and longer. Originally, I had told the music director that it would be around 25 minutes. And then it's like, that's not quite going to happen. And then, okay, it's going to be a little more than 30 minutes. And then I started on the cadenzas, and all of a sudden, oh my God, this thing is 41 minutes. But we decided to count the bars. And she said, wouldn't it be amazing if it was 1,100 bars? Since my name is Elfman, and Elfman means 11. And we have no idea where the name comes from. All we know is that Elfman is 11th man. So she says, you won't believe this. We did a count. She says, it's 1,111 measures. And so I said, that's got to have some meaning. So it's the 1111. So that is how that came about.